thoughts very, very quickly. And I will speak more from a vantage point of being an educator, because I do have a diverse background and I can speak from other vantage points as well. But what is more relevant for today is from where I am speaking today, which is from the position of leading a business school in Europe. And working very closely with Dr. Gupta for bringing some very highly sophisticated and relevant study programs, which I will talk about in a little while. But I'm continuing on what Dr. Vivek said, that we are really in the fourth industrial revolution. And if we take a step back and think about what would be going through the minds of people who went through the first industrial revolution when the steam engine came in, and how that impacted very quickly, the society, both at individual or family levels, but also at the community levels, is that there was an acute need for transformation of skill sets, knowledge, and behaviors. And that impacted economies as we continued into the second revolution, the third industrial revolution, and now the fourth industrial revolution. But what's different today is that the speed at which we are seeing change is very different from the speed at which we used to see change when other industrial revolutions took place. For example, the cumulative amount of technological evolution that happens in a week today is equivalent to almost a year, 30 years ago. And while we may not appreciate the change at the front end when we are living our lives and watching TV and looking at our phones, but in the back end, there is a lot of technological evolution happening, which is going to impact the world as we see it in the times to come. And when I look at it from the vantage point of being responsible for a business school that wants to be relevant in the times to come, what first comes to my mind is how will we equip our learners, our students, to be able to communicate, because that's going to be very important. We used to talk about knowledge, skills, and behaviors, but knowledge is out of the window, because we know today that all that knowledge can be easily secured through multiple means. In fact, that knowledge may not be only secured, but can also be intelligently interpreted by non-human systems today. So what will be more important in the times to come is the ability of humans to be still relevant through being superior in some way, shape, or form in managing artificial intelligence systems or robots or all of those systems that would otherwise be very, very intelligent and be able to have independent decision-making capability. Now, this might sound complex, but it's not, because it happens every day now and today in our lives, and it will permeate our lives so much as we move forward, is that this is not just something that we will talk about in the industry or at the workplace or somewhere else. It's everywhere around us. And from that standpoint, it'll become very important for professionals, not only from a research standpoint. Obviously, we need a lot of applied research that can be translated into actual innovations very, very quickly. I mean, there's a lot of research happening in all different forms, in different sciences, that just sits on the shelf. And it's been happening for decades, but it's never really translated into a real tangible impact on the society. But the urgency at multiple levels, that is at the teaching institutions or research institutions levels, at governments, at even private institutions that are investing time, effort, and money into their competition and understanding how they can stay relevant in today's business environment, is that the people that are coming out of these pipelines, whether they are coming out as innovators or whether they're coming out as professionals who would like to make a career for themselves in the many, many years to come. It's important for us as a business school to stay very upfront in terms of what they need. And what is becoming more important is not just the knowledge, but the skills and the behaviors. And the behaviors will keep becoming more and more important, because now that the knowledge is out and the part of the skill set is taken over by machines, the expectations that we have as people from whatever we interact with, whether it is businesses, organizations, our governments, even our friends and families, will depend upon how personalized they become towards us. And we can see this. I mean, if you really reflect on it, we can even see that happening today, but we may not think about it. And these characteristics will become very, very important for our growth, because at the end of the day, it will be an interaction between humans and machines. And for that growth to happen, whether at a country level or at a global level, where countries are still, some countries are behind and some countries are and wanting to catch up and move forward in that competition globally, it will become more and more relevant that the workforce and the people who are at the research level and at the innovator level have those behaviors to be able to propel that forward. So we as a business school, and something that we did at the European School of Data Science and Technology, is that and you may also look at it, is that there's a lot of institutions that actually are trying to, with good intent, move into newer areas, for example, big data, data science, AI, robotics, machine learning, and permeating it into their other programs that may not traditionally be related to, for example, healthcare. There's a lot of push for these particular areas to permeate into healthcare education research because it is so relevant. But at the teaching institutions level, the transformation is not as rapid. And what has happened is that most institutions have taken the stance that let's add this as a function. Let's add it as a new area where we will develop expertise and we will create a sort of a department around it, or we'll create a faculty around it, and we will grow it. That's one way of thinking about it. The other way is to completely turn it over itself. And that's what we did at the European School of Data Science and Technology, is that the other way of doing it is create an institution that is right from bottom up, completely in alignment with the needs of the next 10 or 20 or 30 years in terms of what the students need. So it's not something that has been just added to another institution. For example, I'm talking more about from the European Data Science and Technology, the ESDST institution that Dr. Kanika has co-founded along with me, is to really create a transformative environment where you're not really using the traditional setup, but a completely different learning environment that is really required today. One of the things that will become more and more, as Dr. Vivek also said, collaborations, not only from a traditional academic standpoint to create just study programs that may have collaborative elements, but to really change the learning process. To change it in a way that there are other collaborators that are, for example, in the industry, that are in places where innovation is happening, because innovation is not happening only in research institutions. Innovation is happening in everywhere. It may be happening in the private institutions and companies and organizations, etc. So it will be a multifaceted approach towards education as we move forward. And the traditional classroom, the traditional institutions will continue to be important, but we will have to change the way we approach learning and be very collaborative to really bring out the best outcomes for our students. And then that would mean the best outcomes for our society, for our communities, for our countries. And we are very happy to speak with interested people, institutions. We have a wealth of expertise and knowledge and networks to help students and help learners achieve the best for themselves. And it's a win-win for everyone. And that is also one of the outcomes here, is to network and be able to listen to others and understand how we can really work together in our pursuit to be able to be a very highly relevant teaching and research institution as we continue to foray forward. So that's where I will stop, because obviously time is of essence and there's a lot of speakers who would like to give their thoughts, but I would just conclude that we will see a tremendous disruption in the learning process and the learning outcomes in the next 5 to 10 years. And the more we are at the leading edge of the innovation in that education pipeline, the better it is, the better value we are providing to our students and to the society. So thank you so much for having me today. I will be happy to interact later with anyone whosoever wants to pose a question or seek a clarification. But I'm really enjoying my time, and thank you again.